What's going on, Met fans? A nice win tonight. Nothing crazy for me, Dan. I know a lot of people are going to be looking into the Soto stuff. The Lindor goes deep twice. Peterson, 5 2/3, only allowing that one run, keeping his ERA down low. I don't think he had his A-plus stuff tonight, but he battled, got through a crappy Rockies team. But all in all, the pitching looked good. Oscar Brazaban gets touch up for that one home run, but Reed Garrett and Edwin Diaz continue to be lights out late in games. Might be the best 8-9 combination in baseball right now. And things are overall looking up. Phillies lost tonight, gained a game in the standings. I don't know what Atlanta's up to. I guess we could touch that later on in the live, but I'm pumped up, man. We have a game tomorrow, which I think is going to be rained out. I got offered free tickets. Shout out to Pat Dunn over at JetCast, my partner at East End Media Group. Has the party deck tomorrow, but I don't know if it's going to be rained out. So I'm going to be staying home. Maybe do a post game here if we end up having a game, and then we have Sunday. To me, two games that are a must-win games, Dan. I don't want to hear you got to win 2 out of 3. It is the Colorado Rockies, who are probably going to lose 110 to 120 games this year. So if I'm the Mets, you got to finish business here. Keep pace in the NL East and just show up.
Yeah, have yet to win double digits. So the Mets have kept the Rockies away from that. But a disastrous team. And you could see it, but they held their way today with the Mets. This was a close game, and it really shouldn't have been. We all think of that when we think of the Rockies. Oh, the Mets should be blowing them out. Well, the Mets won the game. That's all that matters. Definitely some positives. Bullpen 100%. Soto, nice play in right field. You know, he tracked it a little tough in the beginning, but he was able to get to it. Nimmo continues to make good plays in left field. He came into today second amongst all left fielders in baseball with 6 defensive runs saved. Pretty good. And also the number 2, Francisco Lindor, hits 2 home runs today. It had to be reviewed. I don't know why it hit the railing and bounced back. Whenever you see the ball hit the railing and shoots right back down with some velocity behind it, yeah, it's a home run. So good for Lindor today. And 25 straight games the Mets have won when Lindor goes yard. So good day, Ray.
Yeah, and I guess we can get into a little bit more of the weeds. Look, I know Soto had the nice hit, the 112.8 mile an hour hard ball to right field, getting that double, scoring the man from first base. Obviously, his second at bat off the end of the bat, where Keith still says he's still just a little early when it comes to his swing. Hopefully, he can get that turned around. I know we've been talking about this. This is game 61 of the season. It is time for him to show up. As we spoke with Mark Healy earlier today, I don't want to give the bypass season. There is no past season. How many more years of Lindor's prime are you going to have? The pitching staff pitching the way it's been pitching. One of the top staffs in all of baseball. If you go around MLB baseball right now and you look at all the top staffs throughout MLB, most of these staffs have grade A guys all over the place. And we're doing it with David Peterson, Griffin Canning, Kodai Senga going an average of 4 2/3 innings. Nothing crazy, but this bullpen has been absolutely lights out. That's 7, 8, 9, regardless of Brazaban giving up a run today. He's still been the elite players coming out of the pen, pitchers, excuse me. That's 7, 8, 9. And shocker, we talked about it here right on this program. I said, watch, the New York Mets picked up Castillo. All these Met fans are killing David Stearns. I said, watch, he will be dominant, lights out. And how's he been since he's got here? So overall, things are looking up positively. We'll get to your comments. We have some of the comments in the comments section, and I want to get to the scores around baseball.
Yeah, definitely. Real quick, too. The bullpen, unbelievable, continues to lead the league, continues to have its fluctuations. I don't want to sit here and say it's been perfect, but let's be honest, Reed Garrett continues to do what he does. Brazaban, as you mentioned, continue to do what he does. Sure, we want production out of the Budos of the world. The Kraniks haven't been striking out as many people as you would like, but you know, the Mets are in a weird spot because Waddell pitches great, and then they send him down, and you're sitting here saying, he saved the Mets. He should be here. But I think it is just that process of evolution as the season goes on. Stearns talked about it. Stearns met the media today, along with Mendy, had some good things to say, and the bullpen's for real. And so is the whole Mets rotation. So, yeah, excited for it. And Peterson pitched amazing today, too.
We'll get to some comments before we get to these excellent games that are going on. Klub, thanks for chiming in, brother. Great win. I was expecting the Mets bats to really come to life and score 10 runs, but a win is a win is a win. And that's always been my saying. I'm not going to lie. I think a couple of these pitchers, we need to start tagging the hell out of them. I saw a crazy stat earlier today. Pete Alonso and Juan Soto are right at the top of Major League Baseball in ground ball double play outs, Dan. Soto's got, I believe, 10, and Pete now has 9. That's
Yep.
a little concerning to me. Now, I know Pete's going to hit for power. Once Soto comes around, this team has the potential to do some crazy, crazy damage. But I don't know how much longer we're going to have to wait. The weather's been crappy, but overall, this pitching has carried us, and nobody really saw that coming. Andre says Rockies will break the White Sox record from last year. I agree. I mean, their best pitcher has a 5.5 ERA. Nick says, let's go, Mets. Guy says, checking over on Facebook, let's go, Mets. Good night for Lindor. Let's hope Soto's bat heats up now. I agree. I almost feel like, and we could get to this really quick. This is something I wanted to get to as we go around the league really quick. The games that only really matter, I'll touch on. The Reds beat the Cubs 6-2. Orioles 2-1 over the White Sox. That really doesn't matter. The big games, though, the Brewers not destroyed, but they beat the Phillies 6-2, and currently top 8. The Red Sox are beating the Atlanta Braves 3-1. So it could be an overall really good night for the New York Mets if that holds up. But I want to get to this interesting quote that I saw today that us here at Metcast, we quoted and posted it out there today. And let me pull up the full quote really quick, Dan. I'd love to get your comments on it.
Sure.
We didn't touch on it in the space, actually. But here is the quote over from David Stern's press conference today on Juan Soto. Do I think he's trying to do a little bit too much right now? Yeah, I think he's probably trying to do a little bit too much right now. And that is natural for a player who cares about improving. And Dan, very rarely, and this is something I respect about this regime, Carlos Mendoza and David Stearns has blatantly said, we're not playing the company line. We're not going to sit here and say, yeah, everything's great, everything's kumbaya, because it's clearly not. And hopefully today is a sign of things to come. If you watch that at bat, that double that he hit, Hernandez spoke on it today. It wasn't an overswing, something that he's clearly been doing. You even heard about him talk about it in one of his press conferences earlier in the season, where those first 2 hits, swings that he gets in the count, he's trying to hit a nuke back to the Bronx from Queens. And that can't happen. That was 113 mile an hour off the bat. Clearly not an overswing. And I want to see him go to left field because Juan Soto is one of those guys that has tremendous power the opposite way. Hell, earlier in the year when he was hitting home runs, it was to left center going over the fence at Citi Field onto the party deck. So it was a good sign today. Hopefully he's starting to come back around. The Rockies are throwing awful pitchers, and if anybody's going to get him right, it's going to be this team right now.
Yeah, not to get too into the weeds about the Soto stuff, because I know stats does bore people a lot of the time, and we try to toe the line of what's important to let you guys know. And first pitch strike percentage, okay, they showed it on the broadcast tonight as well. It's the highest of Soto's career. It's the highest, 55.9% as of today. And also the lowest in his career, swing strike percentage. The number of swinging strikes. He's not pulling the trigger early in the counts and in general. And, it always seems to be when he's getting these hits up the middle, doubles into the gap, he's choking up on the bat because he's in 2 strike holes, because he's taking the first pitch. He's indecisive. Stearns isn't going to have an answer for that. The media today was trying to get an answer. They were trying to do everything they could, but Stearns doesn't really know. And I don't think any of us truly do. And I think it just goes back to the point of, hey, he's good. He's going to be good eventually. It's just you're seeing it slower than we'd like. That's it.
100%. And Dan, you want to touch on, we were talking about prior to us coming live here. I think it's time for the move to be made. A lot of Met fans may not think so, but Ronnie Mauricio is hitting .560 over his last 7 games, multiple hits or doubles and home runs, well over 100 miles an hour off the bat. And unfortunately, and this is probably one of my bigger fears when we initially brought him up last year, you remember right here on this program, Ray, Acuna's hitting. He could hit. He's just bored. There's a reason why he was hitting 220 last year in the minors. because in the minor leagues, they figured out he can't hit the breaking ball. And Dan has an interesting stat that he's going to share with you right now in regard to Acuna and his swings.
Yeah, he is at the point where his plate discipline is not good. Like, I don't know what went wrong with a guy like Acuna, because we love to see him play. We want to see him play. We were the ones early before the season started talking to Tim Healy in the depths of the offseason, and we were asking him, McNeil, Acuna. And it always seemed like, okay, we trust McNeil. We know he's the big leaguer, but Acuna's the next guy up. Like, whether you like to admit it or not, or who you think is the starter, it is just not where you need his plate discipline to be. And I don't know where that gets fixed, because he's swinging at 33% of his pitches that he sees that are outside of the zone. So think about that.
Outside of the zone. Emphasize that piece. That means 1 out of every 3 swings he takes is at a ball.
That's insane. And you would think, okay, free swinger, maybe that's his identity. It works for certain guys. But I don't think that's his identity. He's short to the ball. He has to be. He's quick. I think it limits his ceiling, truthfully. And we see this a lot. Plate discipline can make or break you. And I hope that he finds it. And it really adds to that whole Mauricio thing, because there's a real case that Acuna needs more development. So guess what? You send him down. You don't worry. You don't trade Vientos. You don't trade Beatty. Nobody's really there yet in their hearts. I think the right answer is sending Acuna down.
Right. And you look at him, he's 23 years old. Mauricio's older. Not saying he can't develop them, but I think it's stunting his development. The fact that he can't play every day on this lineup. Yes, he can come off the bench and be a pinch runner or something of that nature, a late game defensive replacement. But I want him getting full-time at bats in AAA. Remember, last year he barely did anything outside of AA. And maybe this is the kick in the pants that he needs, where it's like, hey, you're not performing at the major league level. I don't want to. The fact that my captain has to come out and say, well, he's a little bored in spring training, that is an entitlement issue. It's either that or you're covering for a skill deficiency. And I think it's probably more the latter here, where they know Acuna is not up to par of a major league player. That pop is completely gone. He's pretty much a base hit or nothing, which you could get by if you're Luis Guillorme and you're a super utility guy playing all over, which he very well, that may be his ceiling. He may be a guy who could play center, left, right, third, short, and a little bit of second. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I get the hype. A lot comes with the last name. If his last name was not Acuna, I don't think we'd be having this
100%.
conversation as much. But Ronnie Mauricio deserves to be up here. It's not like he's hitting 215, but he's got a hard hit percentage and we're trying to justify it. The guy's hitting well over 350 in AAA, hitting bombs all over the place. It's almost a joke what he's doing down there. It's like the Brett Beatty's, where he deserves this shot. And there is an opportunity right now with a lot of people slumping throughout the Mets lineup. You bring them up here, you play them every single day at second base. You have McNeil platoon in center field with Tyron Taylor, and maybe give a blow one day to Lindor, a day you off to, maybe you play him at third base a little bit. And that brings me to my next point. I want to hear what you have to say, Dan, and you people down in the comments. Maybe you guys think I'm nuts. But here's the last time I'm going to say this. How much more does Brett Beatty need to prove to play over Mark Vientos at third base? Another spectacular play in the field today. And no, Vientos didn't make any terrible plays today in the field, but it's such night and day. Keith Hernandez said it himself. Brett Beatty's playing a Gold Glove type of baseball defensively over at third base, and Mark Vientos is a subpar defender. And Mark Healy said it earlier today in your space, Dan, and shout out to you. That was an awesome space. I love picking Mark's brain every once in a while. He said it there, where it's clear as day. Coming into last year, Brett Beatty wasn't that crazy defensive guy. We had a lot of questions about it. He was an average at best third baseman, maybe slightly above average in a couple categories. He's taken his game to a completely different level this season. not only defensively, but even offensively. Today he comes in late, gets the pinch hit. Not that we needed it, but it was still a close game. You could see how locked in he is. He deserves it there. And Mark Healy, I respect his opinion. He says, well, the Mets don't want to give up on him defensively. You don't know what that would do to the mindset. Maybe you write it out. Well, you know what? It's easy to do that when Soto's hitting, Lindor's hitting, Pate's hitting, and everyone else is hitting in the lineup. The facts are McNeil's not hitting. Lindor up until today wasn't hitting. Pete hasn't hit that well over the last 15 games, and Soto hasn't hit at all over the first 61 games. So you could do that, experiment with that, and have him that high in the lineup, hitting 2 in the lineup when you guys are raking against other teams. The facts are you're not raking right now, and you could probably have a better offense with Mauricio at second base, Beatty at third, and Mark Vientos full-time at DH. The Mets tried it last week, only for a game or two. It didn't work out great, but I think that's something you could ride with long-term, where Vientos gives you that pop. We saw the opposite field power just the other day with that 3-run home run. I think they need to ride it out a little longer.
A couple things, and it all ties into what you said and what David Stern said today too. I'll start with Mauricio because I want to see him up here. I do feel that a part of it is that he deserves to be up here, but it also is you have to be extremely cautious. And Stern said that today. The way he sounded, he's in no rush to really bring Ronnie up because you want to make sure that he's up to the level of playing, of course, but you want to make sure that he stays healthy too. So again, they're going to keep evaluating it. They're going to keep looking at what he's doing because it's hard to ignore what he's doing. That's really what it boils down to. And Drew Gilbert, I always think about him because people say, oh, well, why is Jared Young up here? It could have been Drew Gilbert if they needed a left-handed bat. I think it just speaks to the whole mindset of the Mets, and you could call it stubbornness. I think it's just cautious, realism. I think that's the best way to put it. You have to be cautious with some of these guys, but you have to be real. You have to sit here and say, can I get these guys enough playing time? And then with the whole Vientos thing and Beatty, it is so night and day between the two. And we've talked about this now for a good amount of time. We've been on the Mauricio stuff for what feels like 3 years now between you and I.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be honest, like Brett Beatty is still coming in for Mark Vientos in the 7th inning. That is a problem. If Vientos is so good at the field, and to his credit, made a nice backhand play in the hole, strong throw, Pete picked him, but then the next play or two after to his left gets by him, and he should have had that. So
and
I think
Pete had to pick him. You're lucky you have the guy picking at first base because we've been saying this all year. How many post games do you get the interview where Vientos is like, yeah, Pete's my guy over there. Great picker. I know he's got my back over there. That shouldn't be a conversation every time you're in the field. He can't throw the ball to first base, and he can't make the routine play routinely enough for me, Dan, as a Mets fan.
Well, and there is a reason, and I think we're lucky to have a guy like Stearns at the top. We're lucky to have a guy like Mendy calling the shots. But let's be honest, they're not perfect. They still have a lot of growth, along with the fans. The fans have to grow with the Mets. The Mets have to grow. Citi Field has to do some own growing up in terms of the attendance that we're seeing. And shout out to the Mets fans that are pouring out to the ballpark night in and night out against these lowly teams, the White Sox, the Rockies. The place is buzzing every single night. So shout out to all of you. But yeah, I think we're in a good spot. It was nice to hear Stearns today. And it just seems like they're taking more of a cautious approach with Ronnie Mauricio. He could be up tomorrow. I have no idea. But I want to say the middle of June is when we can start to maybe ramp up that conversation.
If you're going to bring him up, he needs to be playing every day, in my opinion.
Right.
You can't do what you're doing. I think also what the Mets are doing with Acuna, doing him a disservice. Goes into his first slump. He plays every other day. The pinch hitting, you see the game log. Oh, well, he's played in all these games. Yeah, well, pinch running doesn't do anything, or defensive replacement. But let's get to some more of your guys' comments before we wrap it up tonight. I know Dan will not be with us tomorrow, as he will be at the Knicks game watching them lose game 6. Every day, Mets says, hey, Ray, hey, Dan, let's effing go. Mets. Frankie says, have to send Acuna back down and bring Ronnie Mauricio up. I agree with you. FaZe says, Soto, 2 hits, throw a parade. I know. It's sad that we have to say that, but that's, what it is. Guy says, Blackburn, Montas, Manaea back. We can go an 8-man rotation, LOL. I will say this, Montas did not look terrifically good. I'm not going to get over, anything crazy, but
Real quick,
2 innings, 2 runs, 2 hits, 2 walks.
I want to address that real quick too. So Blackburn will be joining the team in the Dodger series coming up on the West Coast. So he's expected to be slotting back into the 6th starter role. We've talked about it, right? I don't know how long that lasts. I think it's just to get over the hump. Stern said whenever they have like 18 game stretches, 15 game stretches without a break, that's when you'll see the 6-man rotation. That's when you'll see Blackburn. But he has to earn his starts. But hypothetically, Gary, whoever had said the comment, yeah, we could go to an 8-man rotation if we wanted to, but we got to get there first.
I wanted to bring something else out. It just reminded me of what I was thinking of. I want to see this stat right here. Okay. And I posted about this earlier, and I have an updated stat, and it's not pretty. I mean, I know when people think, oh, well, Ray's Mr. Negative, Dan's Mr. Positive. I play both sides of the fence. Passionate Met fan, just like you guys. And I want to pull this stat up so I have it so I don't look like a buffoon or somebody clips me taking it wrong. See if I can find it. I posted it earlier today. Here we go. And now this will be updated. So it's going to be 77. Francisco Alvarez has 3 extra base hits over his last 70. Did he get a walk? Yep. 78 at bats with 24 strikeouts. So he's striking out nearly 33% of the time, 3 extra base hits and 77 at bats. That's 1 home run, 2 doubles. And I know we go, oh, catcher, defense, it's not it's about the defense. Well, I wouldn't be saying this if we didn't have Luis Torrens on this roster, Dan. He needs to get the majority of the playing time. And if I'm the New York Mets, I can't believe I'm even saying this, but I start looking for another backup catcher and maybe give Alvarez some more seasoning. He's just as young as Acuna. Think about that. We're just seeing Acuna really for the first time, full-time or even a part-time role this year. Last year, he played a couple games. Something is clearly wrong with Alvarez's swing. I'm looking at, he looks a little bigger, maybe a little out of shape, in my opinion. I know I'm just a fan like you guys, but in my opinion, Alvarez is clearly out of shape and showed up out of shape to camp. When I saw him down in camp, I even was like, whoa, this guy's been hanging out with Vogelback too much. But anyways, I wanted to really reiterate this point. He is having one of the worst Mays I think I've ever seen in baseball. The guy's hitting like 200, 3 extra base hits, and almost 30-something games. Jacob deGrom as a pitcher has better numbers than that. And yes, he's been okay defensively. I can't strike him there, but put him in AAA. Let him find out what's going on. The fact that he has similar at-bats, right around 400 at-bats each, his rookie year, 25 home runs in the 3 years since. He won't sniff that. He's got 12 in the last 3 years. What changed? Yes, the league figured him out, but it's ground ball after ground ball. Remember earlier in the last year, it was pop-up after pop-up after pop-up. Now it's just ground ball after ground ball after ground ball. For me, he's got to go down, Dan. Has to. He's been god-awful. And when he comes up with guys on, you know there's no shot of him getting an extra base hit to drive in more than one.
Listen, I wouldn't mind giving a guy like Hayden Sanger another opportunity. I think he is a guy who's deserved it, but he gets the short end of the stick because you only carry 2 catchers if you're the Mets. And it goes back to the same question of hype. Do we still believe in the hype of Francisco Alvarez from 2023? And I think it's a legitimate question. I don't know the answer. Well, you do.
I think the talent is there. There's a reason why that not only MLB.com, Baseball Americas, USA Today, they all had him as the #1 overall prospect in all of baseball. There's a reason for that. Yes, there are busts when that comes out of that, but he comes up, has instant success. Where did that all go? Is he so secure in his job? He knows I don't know, but something's changed. I mean, Thomas points it out right here. Vientos and Alvarez need to sit. Can this team score more than 3 or 4 runs? We were supposed to be a juggernaut this year. And it's a part of that.
I know. I think a lot of it goes back to his swing has gotten longer. I can't attest to him gaining weight. I mean, maybe he has. Maybe he's bulked up. We were looking throughout the whole offseason saying he's working his tail off. He's in the gym every single day. What's the difference? He either overtrained. He either tried to, the injuries really caused a problem when you're a catcher. We've talked about that. But also, I think it goes back to, and I'm never going to call for this, but if it continues, because it's not a theme just with Alvarez, it's a theme with a lot of the team, not just runners in scoring position, ground balls. Guys like Soto, Alvarez, too many ground balls for them in their
9 no plays.
Right. So I think it is at the point. I'm not there yet, and I really won't ever be, because it's not right for us to sit up here and call for people's jobs. You can if you want to, but
I will fire his ass. No. I don't think it's Chavez. Look, you have Pete, who is the highest paid first baseman in all of baseball, Juan Soto, who's the highest paid right fielder in all of baseball, and Lindor, who's a top 5 paid shortstop in all of the game. And that's that. Brandon Nimmo, considered widely last year going into the season, Bleacher Report released their best left fielders. He was number 1. These guys got to get it together. They're major leaguers. Let's be honest. Something that has changed over the last 5 years, all of these guys have personal hitting coaches in the offseason. So they're not really working a ton one-on-one with Chavez. It's not like Chavez didn't think about it. Imagine Chavez was dealing with 26 guys or whatever, how many hitters there are, and dealing with them every single day trying to correct things. There's not enough time in the day to do it, Dan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would never say, but it could be, like we were talking about last night, mentalities. That's why I was so surprised. Said it in the space today. I was perplexed that nobody sat there and asked David Stearns, hey, is there a mentality change between you and the coaching staff, specifically on the offensive side? That's all you have to say. I mean, that's it. And I don't know why they're shying away from asking those tough questions. Maybe it's still early in the season, but you saw a little bit of it today. Stearns was getting grilled a little bit on this Soto stuff, not to the point where it's this crazy thing, but the questions are piling up.
Craig's got the best comment of the show so far. I did the old stuck in traffic on the Van Wyck pullover and go to the game in the 4th. Too bad I live too far, but that's something I would probably do. So, Craig, I'm right there with you. Thomas says Mendoza is very stubborn, and Vientos did make a bad play when he short armed that ball that went past him. You know what it is, Dan? It's not like when we talk about Vientos in defense, it's not like, once a week he makes a stupid blunder. It's literally every game. A game, and it's not the blunder, it's the play that you watch when we watch Brett Beatty out there. And now it's in my head. I'm sure it's in your guys' heads too. I'm like, Beatty wouldn't have made that play.
Yeah.
That ball that's sharply hit to the left that just gets under Vientos' glove. I'm like, Beatty eats that up for breakfast. I can't believe I'm even saying that, but that's the kind of defender that he's become. Dan, give me your closing comments as we get out of here. I might do a post game tomorrow night. Probably not. We might do a series wrap up on Sunday. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, might host a space for a couple minutes at the end of the night. But listen, early day tomorrow, flying out to Indy, excited for Game 6. But we'll talk about that maybe on a Sunday, right? We'll do a wrap-up series space or whatever you want to do, a live.
Yeah, definitely. Wrap-up next series, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see. But addressing Vientos, really, -7 range, outs above average. I'm not at the point where he can never play the position again. I think you do need some value if we're talking about trades down the line, but it is a concern. But generally, not many concerns for the New York Mets. They continue to roll. They take the first game from the Rockies, and let's go, Ray. Keep it going. Orange and blue, baby.
That's it. Keep winning. Hopefully the Braves lose tonight. We gain a game on everybody tonight. But thanks, everybody, for sticking around. If you enjoy this content, leave us a like, give us a sub, maybe share the show with a friend as we continue to grow this platform. And as always, Dan, let's go Mets.
Go Mets. Peace, everybody.